Okay, so this is going to be how to do some of the problems on page 730 here, the chapter 8 review, the chapter on right triangles and trigonometry. I'm going to start with number 7 here, and they want you to figure out the missing side. So they give you one side length, and based on that one side length, you should be able to figure out the other two side lengths. And these are going to be special right triangles. It could either be a 45, 45, 90, or a 30, 60, 90, which I have listed below here. This one is the 30, 60, 90 right triangle, and it's imperative that you just know the relationship between the angles and then the side lengths opposite. Because once you know one side length, like the 26, you should be able to figure out the other two based on that one side length. All right, so if I look at this and I redrew number 7 down here, I have the side that is opposite the 90. Now you got to know your basic formula. Anything that is opposite the 90 is going to be represented with 2x. So this is kind of like the 2x. The side that is opposite the 30 is going to be x, and then the side that is opposite the 60 would be whatever x is times that by the square root of 3. So we are starting with the side opposite the 90. So what we're going to do is basically just solve for x. I'm going to use blue here. So from this starting point, just go 2x is equal to 26. Divide by 2, so x is equal to 13. So that means the side that is opposite the 30 degrees is 13. And then you take that number 13 and then you just plug it right here. This is what the side opposite the 60 is. This is the side that's opposite the 30. So you just got to know this relationship for a 30, 60, 90 or a 45, 45, 90. All right, moving on to number 10. Here is the basic using the trig function sine, cosine, or tangent. You've got to know what sine, cosine, and tangent stands for. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. Those are obviously sides of a triangle. Here's this one acronym here, which is SOHCAHTOA, which stands for everything we just said, sine opposite over hypotenuse and so forth. In blue here, we show when you use the -1 button in your calculator, called the inverse sine or inverse tangent. And that is when you're looking for a missing angle, like problem number 11, you would end up using inverse tangent or sine. Okay, so when we do these problems, let's start with number 10 here. You are always going to start at the angle. In this case, it's 48 degrees. And then you got to decide, well, what is the side opposite? That's the x. What is this 5 down here? This is the adjacent, and opposite the 90 degrees is always the hypotenuse. Standing at 48, x is the opposite, 5 is the adjacent. There's no number on the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to use hypotenuse. So the one trig button that uses opposite and adjacent is going to be sine. Oh, excuse me, tangent. I hit the erase button there. So we're going to say for number 10 here, we're going to say tangent of 48 degrees, always the trig button, then the angle, and then you say, well, what does tangent mean? It means opposite. In this case, it's x. Adjacent is 5. Now you got to have a calculator here, punch in tangent of 48, and you will get 1.1106 is equal to x over 5. And then you would simply just multiply by 5, and then x is about 5.5. So if you look back at the original picture here, if this side right here is 5 inches, then this side right here is a little bit bigger than that, 5.5 inches, 5 inches. Okay. Number 11 is an example of when you are having a missing angle and you want to do what we have here in blue, use the -1. So if you look at number 11, you are looking at a missing angle. If I look at this 11 is opposite, this 23 is hypotenuse, and opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So what we're going to do is we're going to say sine. Now we have a missing angle here because it's x. So what we're going to do is -1x, the angle, is equal to, opposite that x is the number 11, the hypotenuse is the number 23, and we're actually going to solve for this angle. Now, because it's a missing angle, we are going to use the -1 button. So you've got to be able to find this in the calculator. You have to hit second, and then it should pop up sine with the -1, and then you type in 11 over 23, and my answer will be 28.57 degrees. So the calculator knows that this is about 28.57 degrees right here. All right. So you got to know your sine, cosine, and tangents, and when to use the -1.